There comes a moment in every person's life, quiet, small, yet undeniably heavy, when they realize they've been shrinking themselves for the comfort of others. It doesn't always come with a dramatic outburst or a grand betrayal. Sometimes it's in the silence after saying yes when your heart is screaming no. It's the weight in your chest after yet another favor, another compromise, another night spent overthinking your worth. This audiobook is for you. Welcome. In today's audiobook we will be discussing emotional boundaries, how to protect your peace without guilt. Written by empaths, published by Beneath the Book. For the helper who never asks for help. The peacekeeper whose soul feels anything but peaceful. The one who carries guilt like a second skin. Guilt for saying no, for taking up space, for simply existing with needs. Emotional boundaries, how to protect your peace without guilt, is a gentle but firm companion on your journey. It's not about becoming hard. It's about becoming whole. Not about turning away from others, but finally turning toward yourself. You will learn that emotional boundaries are not punishments. They are acts of clarity. And protecting your peace is not selfish. It's sacred. This audiobook is a soft landing for the tired, the empathic, the overcommit. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. Let's start by looking at the story of a young woman named who was the kind of friend who never forgot birthdays. She baked cupcakes for her coworkers, volunteered at her church, and picked up her sister's kids every weekend without being asked. But one evening she sat in her car outside a friend's apartment, gripping the steering wheel, heart pounding. She had just sent a text message saying, "I can't come tonight. I'm really tired." Immediately, guilt swelled in her throat. She imagined her friend's disappointment, the silence that might follow. She even considered retracting the message, maybe pushing through her exhaustion one more time. Also, a young man who is a mild-mannered graphic designer often stayed late at the office to help teammates meet deadlines. Not because he wanted to, but because he didn't know how to say, "I've done enough." He feared being labeled lazy, uncooperative, or worst of all, selfish. And somewhere in Texas, a young mother of two always said yes when neighbors asked for favors, babysitting, meal prep, errands, even though she hadn't had a moment to herself in months. She told herself, "It's just who I am. People depend on me." But late at night, tears would fall quietly on her pillow. What ties these people together? A fear that no will make them unloved. That no will redefine them as cold, uncaring, or unworthy. That by choosing themselves they are abandoning others. But here's the truth. Saying no is not an act of rejection. It's an act of preservation. Psychologically, this struggle often stems from early conditioning. In childhood, we may have learned that being good means being agreeable. Maybe we were praised when we complied or punished when we asserted ourselves. This created a hidden belief. My needs matter less than others. Saying no equals being bad. This belief clings quietly in adulthood. You may find yourself overcommitting at work, saying yes to social events you dread, or staying in toxic relationships because you fear the fallout of a boundary. You don't want to be seen as difficult, so you become invisible instead. But what happens when you always say yes? You betray yourself. You become exhausted, irritable, resentful. Not because you are weak, but because you are human. There's a limit to how much we can give without becoming empty. Saying no is not a rejection of others. It's a recognition of your limits. Let's reframe no. No is not selfish. No is not rude. No is a complete sentence. It is you choosing to pour from a full cup rather than scraping your soul dry. Think of boundaries like traffic lights. Without them, roads are chaotic. But with them, everything flows. Saying no doesn't stop connection. It makes healthy connection possible. Here's something to reflect on. If someone only values you when you say yes, do they truly value you or just your compliance? In setting boundaries, we filter out manipulation and reveal authenticity. In truth, the people who truly love and respect you won't leave because you said no. They'll understand. They might even admire you for it. It's time we stop measuring our goodness by how much of ourselves we give away. It's time to start believing that you matter too. Healing moment. Close your eyes for a second. Breathe in through your nose. Let the breath fill your chest, your belly. And exhale gently. Let the tension leave with it. Now ask yourself, where in my life have I been saying yes from fear, not love? Where have I felt guilt for simply being tired, human, or unavailable? What would it feel like to honor myself, even if it disappoints someone else? Repeat these affirmations softly, out loud or in your heart. My no is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. I am allowed to protect my time, my energy, and my peace. I do not need to earn love by overextending myself. You are not a bad person for having limits. You are a person who is learning to love yourself enough to honor them. If this chapter spoke to your heart, there is more healing ahead. This is only the beginning. In the next chapter, we'll explore the truth behind emotional responsibility and why you are not responsible for how others react to your boundaries. Subscribe to stay with us on this journey. Protecting your peace is not a destination. It's a daily decision. And you don't have to make it alone. Let's walk this healing path together. Your peace matters. And so do you. Chapter 2. You're not responsible for other people's reactions. Maya had rehearsed her response all day. Her cousin, whom she deeply loved, had once again asked for money. Money Maya didn't have to spare. And though it felt like a betrayal, Maya decided to say no. Her voice trembled as she hit send. I'm really sorry, but I can't help financially this time. The reply came fast and sharp. Wow. After everything I've done for you? You've changed. Maya's stomach dropped. The guilt swept in like a tide. She questioned herself, doubted her worth, and spent the night wondering if she was cold-hearted. All because she had chosen to honor her own boundary. All because someone didn't like her. No. This experience is not unique to Maya. Whether it's a parent in Nairobi who lashes out when their adult child sets new limits, a partner in London who sulks when they're not prioritized, or a boss in New York who shames an employee for refusing to work overtime. The moment we set a boundary, someone's reaction often becomes the weight we feel we must carry. But here's the truth. You are not responsible for other people's reactions to your truth. Let that settle. Not everyone will understand your growth. Not everyone will applaud your healing. And not everyone will welcome the version of you that finally says, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't make you wrong. Why do we fear people's reactions so deeply? Because from a young age, we were often taught that our job is to keep others comfortable. We were raised to be agreeable, to avoid conflict, to put others before ourselves. Especially if you're a woman or come from a collectivist culture where harmony is prized over individual assertion. This conditioning runs deep. So, when someone is disappointed, we don't just see their feelings, we see our failure. We internalize their discomfort as our wrongdoing. But boundaries by nature will make some people uncomfortable. And that's okay. Discomfort doesn't mean harm. Anger doesn't always mean injustice. And someone's pain doesn't automatically become your burden to fix. Let's imagine this differently. You decide to stop answering work emails after 6 p.m. to protect your mental health. Your boss calls you inflexible. Is that your fault? You tell a friend you can't be their emotional dumping ground anymore. They say, you've become selfish. Does that make it true? You choose not to attend a family event because you need rest. Your uncle accuses you of being disrespectful. Are you? What if their reactions are not about you but about their unprocessed expectations, unhealed wounds, or unfamiliarity with boundaries? The moment you start prioritizing your peace, people will respond from where they are. Not always from love, but often from their own discomfort with change. But it is not your job to shrink so others don't have to stretch. It is not your job to cushion every emotion. It is not your job to trade your peace for approval. Let's confront something gently. Sometimes we avoid setting boundaries not because we don't know how, but because we fear the fallout. We fear losing relationships. We fear being misunderstood. We fear being labeled as too much or too distant. But the cost of avoiding that discomfort is often self-abandonment. And that's a much higher price to pay. Ask yourself, how many times have I betrayed my own needs just to avoid making someone else uncomfortable? How much of my life have I lived under the pressure of managing everyone else's emotions, but not my own? Your emotional health is not a public project. It's a private responsibility. You are allowed to say, I see that you're upset, but I will not absorb that as my guilt. Healing moment. Place your hand over your heart. Take a breath in. Hold it gently. Now release. Ask yourself, what reactions have I been afraid of? Whose emotions have I been carrying that were never mine to hold? Or have I confused peacekeeping with self-erasure? Now speak these affirmations softly or write them somewhere close. I can be kind and still say no. I am not responsible for how others feel about my boundaries. My peace is not up for negotiation. Healing happens when we learn to stand in our truth without apology, without shame, and without fear of emotional retaliation. You are not cruel for protecting your spirit. You are not cold for prioritizing your health. You are allowed to let others feel what they need to feel, while you remain anchored in what's right for you. Thank you for holding space with this chapter. This work is not easy, but it is necessary. And you are doing beautifully. In the next chapter, we will explore what boundaries truly are, and why they are not walls meant to push people out, but doors that guide others on how to meet you with respect. Subscribe to continue this journey. Your healing matters. Your boundaries are sacred. And you're not alone. Let's keep walking this path together. Chapter 3. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. When May moved from Beijing to Berlin for her studies, she found herself navigating friendships in a new way. In China, she was raised to be agreeable and emotionally available at all times, especially for family. But in her new environment, she met people who took long breaks from group chats, said things like, I'm not in the headspace to talk today, and canceled plans with honesty and no apology. At first it felt cold. May wondered if they cared at all. But as time passed, she realized something surprising. Those same friends showed up more fully, more kindly, more consistently when they were available. Their no didn't mean distance. It meant clarity. And in that clarity, their yes became powerful. Across the ocean in Sao Paulo, Ricardo had spent most of his adult life emotionally walled off. After being betrayed by a close friend in his teens, he built a fortress around his heart. He believed boundaries were about control, keeping people out before they had the chance to hurt him. But that wasn't a boundary. That was fear. What Ricardo had built wasn't a healthy door that opened and closed with discernment. It was a brick wall, sealed and soundproof. Safe, perhaps, but also lonely. This is the misconception many of us hold. That boundaries are about cutting people off. That they create distance, isolation, detachment. But the truth is more nuanced, more human. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors. And like all good doors, they have hinges. They open and close. They are meant to open, but only when it is safe, respectful, and aligned. Let's pause and reframe. A wall says, no one gets in. A door says, I choose who comes in, when and how. A wall hides. A door invites, but wisely. Boundaries, in their healthiest form, are expressions of self-knowledge. They are not reactions to fear. They are affirmations of value. When you say, I don't answer work calls after 7 p.m. I'm not available for emotional dumping tonight. I need time to process before continuing this conversation. You are not shutting someone out. You are showing them how to access you with honor. Boundaries are the architecture of sustainable love. In Nairobi, Layla, a mother of 3, learned this the hard way. She used to allow her extended family unlimited access to her time and home, dropping by unannounced, involving her in every drama, expecting her to carry their emotional baggage. She was always exhausted, irritable, and short-tempered, not because she didn't love them, but because she had no door. Only an open field where anyone could walk in, trample, and leave. The day she began saying, let's schedule visits, or I'll call you back when I'm free. Something shifted. Some relatives reacted badly at first. But over time, those who truly cared adapted. They learned to knock and wait. Because here's the truth. Boundaries don't keep love out. They keep chaos out so love can breathe. Boundaries protect both you and the relationship. Without them, we breed silent resentment, emotional burnout, and passive aggression. With them, we invite authenticity, accountability, and deeper connection. Still, many people struggle with this. Why? Because we confuse boundaries with punishment. We think, if I say no, they'll think I don't love them. If I ask for space, they'll feel rejected. But real love is not fragile. Real connection withstands honesty. And anyone who demands access to you at all costs is not loving you, they are using you. In your healing journey, you must ask, am I building walls from fear? Or opening doors from love and wisdom? Healing moment. Pause for a moment. Let your breath steady. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your heart beating, not for others but for you. Now gently reflect. Where in my life have I built walls out of fear? Where have I left the door open too wide, allowing others to drain me? What would it look like to install a beautiful, firm, respectful door? One I control. Now repeat these gentle affirmations. My boundaries are not barriers. They are bridges to better connection. I open myself wisely, not fearfully. My energy is sacred. I choose when, how, and with whom I share my presence. You are not cold for needing space. You are not harsh for choosing rest. You are human and worthy of a life with emotional oxygen. If this chapter resonated with you, you're not alone. Millions of people are awakening to the idea that peace doesn't require isolation. It requires intention. In the next chapter, we will face the quiet storms so many feel but never speak about. The guilt of choosing yourself. Why do we feel shame when we put our needs first? Even when it's healthy, even when it's necessary. Let's explore it together. Subscribe and continue listening. This journey is not just about boundaries. It's about becoming whole. And you are already on your way. You're not closing the door on others. You're finally opening one. For yourself. Chapter 4. The Guilt of Choosing Yourself. Let's look at a story of some individuals. Maya stood at the airport gate, clutching her boarding pass like it was both her freedom and her betrayal. She had just walked away from a job she loved, or used to love, in Nairobi, where she'd spent the last 5 years building a reputation as the go-to person. Everyone counted on her. Her boss, her co-workers, even her parents boasted about how reliable she was. But Maya was exhausted. Behind her bright smile were panic attacks. Behind her late-night emails were silent tears. She had asked for time off and they said, "But we need you." So for the first time she chose herself. She quit. And now, as she sat on that flight to Portugal for a quiet 3-month sabbatical, guilt wrapped itself around her like a weighted blanket. Am I being ungrateful? Selfish? Irresponsible? In London, a young man named Thomas turned down a family wedding to attend a personal development retreat. His cousins called him self-absorbed. In the Philippines, Rachel ended a toxic friendship that had lasted for years. Her friend cried and begged, accusing her of being heartless. In California, Jack decided not to send money to distant relatives this month. For once, he saved it for his own child's tuition. But the silent stares and whispered words from his extended family echoed, "You've changed." Choosing yourself, even for survival, can still feel like betrayal. But let's ask, why does it feel so wrong to choose you? The psychology of guilt. Guilt is often a sign that we're doing something different than we were taught. Especially if we grew up in cultures, homes, or environments where sacrifice was tied to virtue, where the more you gave up, the more you were praised. In many places, especially collectivist societies, in Africa, Asia, Latin America, the group comes before the individual. This can foster community and connection, but it can also make personal boundaries feel like rebellion. You were likely taught to consider everyone's needs before your own. So now when you say, "I need space," or I can't help right now. Or even, I want more for myself. The alarm bells of guilt ring loudly. And in individualistic cultures like the US or the UK, the guilt often sounds different. More internal. I have so much privilege, who am I to complain? Others have it worse, I should be grateful. What if they think I'm selfish or unkind? Whether guilt is shaped by your upbringing, your religion, or your relationships, one thing is clear. We have been conditioned to equate self-sacrifice with love, and self-care with sin. But this conditioning is not truth. It is survival learning, and it can be unlearned. The truth: you are not wrong for choosing you. You are allowed to leave the party early. You are allowed to spend money on yourself. You are allowed to decline the phone call, the event, the obligation. You are allowed to rest without explanation. Choosing yourself does not mean abandoning others. It means refusing to abandon yourself. Because when we constantly put others first, we teach the world that we come last. And over time we start to believe it. Yes, people might be disappointed. Yes, they might not understand. But peace is not always loud and celebrated. Sometimes it's quiet and lonely, but it's still peace. Reality check. Is your guilt based in truth or conditioning? Here are some hard but healing questions. Does saying yes serve them while silently harming you? Are you afraid to disappoint others more than you're afraid to lose yourself? When was the last time you did something just for you, without apology or explanation? If these questions stir discomfort, that's not shame. That's awareness. That's growth. The truth is, guilt will come. It's part of the unlearning. But so will freedom. So will rest. So will joy, the kind you don't have to earn by breaking yourself. Healing moment. Take a deep breath. Place your hand over your heart. And just whisper to yourself, I am allowed. You are allowed to disappoint someone else in order to be true to yourself. You are allowed to redefine love, not as endless sacrifice but as honest presence. You are allowed to be tired. To say no. To choose peace. Now say these gentle affirmations. Choosing myself is an act of courage, not cruelty. I can love others without abandoning myself. My peace is not up for negotiation. Let that settle into your spirit. You are not bad. You are breaking patterns. And that is beautiful. If your heart feels seen in this chapter, stay with us. In the next chapter, we'll explore one of the most freeing shifts in boundary work. Stop explaining your decisions. Because you don't owe everyone an essay for your peace. Subscribe and keep listening. This journey is yours. And you're not walking it alone. Your guilt is not a sign of wrongdoing. It's a signal that you're stepping into truth. And your truth? It's sacred. Keep choosing you. Chapter 5. Stop explaining your decisions. In a cafe in Paris, Leah sat across from her longtime friend Camille, her coffee untouched. She had just declined an invitation to be the maid of honor at Camille's second wedding. Not because she didn't love her friend, but because she was already overwhelmed with work, family obligations, and the slow unraveling of her own engagement. I can't take it on right now, Leah said, her voice trembling. But then came the flood of words, of justifications. It's not that I don't care. I do. I've just been dealing with so much. My dad's health, my deadlines, I haven't even been sleeping. Camille interrupted, a hint of offense in her tone. You don't have to make excuses. Just say no. Leah stared, confused. Wasn't that what I just did? Around the world, this plays out in thousands of conversations in homes, offices, text messages, and family group chats. In Lagos, a young woman named Bella turns down an invitation to her cousin's naming ceremony. She sends a 3-paragraph text explaining how her car broke down, how her manager just changed her shift, how she really wanted to come but. In Chicago, a man named Marcus politely tells his friend he won't be attending the bachelor party trip. He writes a long email about budgeting, about his dog needing surgery, about not being able to take leave from work. In Tokyo, May respectfully declines a leadership role in a community group and immediately feels the need to justify it. It's not because I'm lazy or uninterested. I just really need to focus on my family right now. Please don't misunderstand. And in all these stories, the common thread is this. We struggle to trust that our choices are valid on their own. Why do we over-explain? Psychologically, over-explaining is often rooted in a deep desire to be understood, approved, and accepted. We want people to know we mean well, that we're still good, that we're not abandoning them or acting selfishly. But behind that desire often lies fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being disliked. Fear of disappointing people we care about. For many of us, especially those who grew up in environments where love was conditional, on behavior, on achievement, on obedience, we learned that saying no must always come with a justification. I'm not rejecting you. I'm just really busy. Please still like me. But here's the truth. You do not need to write a thesis to justify your peace. You do not owe anyone a PowerPoint presentation for choosing rest, solitude, boundaries, or silence. Your decision is enough. Your no is enough. Your peace is reason enough. The cost of over-explaining. When you constantly explain your decisions, you create room for negotiation, where there should be none. People start to poke holes in your reasoning. Can't someone else do it? Can't you move your schedule around? Are you sure it's that serious? And suddenly, your firm decision starts to unravel. Not because it was wrong, but because you invited scrutiny. Over time, this erodes your self-trust. You begin to believe your choices aren't valid unless someone else approves them. You second-guess yourself. You wait for permission to live in alignment with your needs. But boundaries are not courtroom defenses. They are sacred lines drawn in the soil of self-worth. They are meant to protect you, not to be argued into existence. A gentle confrontation. Let's be honest. Some people won't like your decisions. Some will feel disappointed, offended, or even hurt. That is a reflection of them, not a fault in you. You are not responsible for managing every reaction to your truth. You are responsible for honoring your truth, with compassion but without apology. Ask yourself, have I been using explanations as armor? Am I afraid that without justification I won't be enough? Who am I trying to protect when I explain every little thing, myself or their comfort? How to practice saying less. Start small. Instead of saying, I can't come because I have laundry my boss called and my head hurts. Try, I won't be able to make it. Thank you for understanding. Instead of saying, I'm not sure if I can take on this role because I've got a lot going on and I'm not in a good place mentally. Try, I'm going to decline this time. I appreciate the offer. There is power in brevity. There is grace in confidence. The people who respect you won't need a backstory to accept your no. And those who demand one are revealing that their comfort is more important than your peace. Healing moment. Take a slow, deep breath. Let it fill your chest like light. Soft, steady, sure. Exhale slowly, letting go of the need to defend yourself. Place a hand on your heart if it feels right. Feel its rhythm. You are alive. You are enough. You are allowed to choose. Reflect for a moment. Where in your life have you been explaining yourself too much? Which decisions deserve to be honored, not justified? Now affirm this truth with gentleness and clarity. My choices are valid even when they are quiet. I can say no without explaining why. I trust myself to know what I need. If this chapter helped you breathe a little easier, you're not alone. You are shedding patterns that were never yours to carry. You are stepping into a peace that doesn't require permission. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the silent resentment of people-pleasing, and why constantly pleasing others often comes at the cost of betraying yourself. Subscribe now and continue this healing journey with us. This is your space, a soft, safe space, to become whole again. Because your peace was never supposed to be explained. It was only ever meant to be protected. Chapter 6. The silent resentment of people-pleasing. Let's look at a story of 3 individuals. A young man stood in the kitchen of his London apartment, chopping onions for a dinner party he didn't want to host. His partner's friends were coming over again, and although Marcel was exhausted from back-to-back shifts at the hospital, he hadn't said a word. He smiled as he cooked, nodded when asked for favors, and laughed at jokes that scraped against his values. But inside something simmered. It wasn't rage. Not loud enough to be called anger. It was quieter. More dangerous. It was resentment. A slow-burning ache that whispered, "Why does no one ever ask what I want?" He didn't explode. He didn't complain. He just kept saying yes, until he no longer recognized his own voice. Across the world, in Lagos, Nigeria, Liliana was known as the good daughter. She sent money to her parents, answered every call, and agreed to attend family functions even when they clashed with her work as a freelance writer. Her boundaries were blurry, her time no longer her own. But when she dared to say, "I can't come this weekend," her mother's voice turned sharp. "You've changed." That comment stung more than it should have. And in New York City, Thomas, a middle-aged teacher, spent years mentoring students, volunteering for school committees, and offering his weekends for extra tutoring. He prided himself on being dependable. But one night, walking home in the rain after staying late, again, he whispered to himself, "When do I get to matter?" The hidden cost of people-pleasing. People-pleasing isn't kindness. Not when it comes at the expense of your peace. It's a survival tactic. A way to keep relationships safe, emotions predictable, and rejection far away. Often, people-pleasers grew up in environments where love was conditional. Where approval came when you were quiet, compliant, helpful. So you learned to meet everyone's needs, except your own. You smiled through discomfort. You apologized for existing. You said yes when you wanted to scream no. And somewhere along the line, you believed the lie that love must be earned through self-erasure. But here's the emotional truth. People-pleasing plants seeds of silent resentment. Resentment that accumulates each time you abandon yourself. Resentment that poisons your joy. Resentment that disguises itself as fatigue, anxiety, or low self-worth. What starts as a performance of love becomes a pattern of self-neglect. And eventually it spills out, in burnout, in bitterness, in broken relationships. People-pleasing may keep others comfortable, but it keeps you hidden. Why do we stay in this pattern? Because we fear what honesty might cost us. We're afraid of being called ungrateful, difficult, selfish. We think, if I stop pleasing, they might stop loving. But love that demands your silence is not love. Respect that exists only when you comply is not respect. You cannot build true connection on a foundation of self-betrayal. The resentment is the signal. Resentment is not proof you're ungrateful. It's proof you're unheard. It's a sacred signal. A cry from your inner self saying, "I've been ignored by the very person who's supposed to protect me, me." It's not too late to listen. To begin again. To say, "I'm allowed to be kind without being a doormat. I'm allowed to support others without losing myself in the process." Let's break the pattern. Start with awareness. Notice the tension in your chest when you agree to something you don't want. Pay attention to the thoughts that rush in when you try to say no. Observe the guilt, not to judge it but to understand it. Ask yourself, am I doing this out of love or fear? Will I feel peace or resentment after I say yes? What part of me feels unsafe if I choose myself? These questions are not about shaming yourself. They're about meeting your inner child with honesty and compassion. You deserve relationships that don't require performance. The ones who truly value you won't leave when you stop people-pleasing. They'll celebrate your authenticity. And if they don't, let that be a mirror, not a verdict. You're not here to please the world. You're here to live your truth. Healing moment. Let's pause for a breath. Breathe in slowly. And exhale. Let go of the pressure. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the false idea that your worth depends on how small you can make yourself. You are not here to be consumed by others. You are here to be seen, respected, and loved fully. Repeat these affirmations with your hand over your heart. My worth is not measured by how much I sacrifice. I release the need to please at the cost of my peace. I choose honesty over resentment every time. You can still be kind and say no. You can still be loving and set limits, You can still be generous without giving yourself away. Thank you for sitting with this truth today. Your awareness is the first act of freedom. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into a powerful truth. Protecting your peace is not a personality trait. It's a skill you can learn, practice, and master. If this spoke to your heart, subscribe and stay on this journey with us. Because healing begins with honesty and continues with choice. You're not too much. You are not too selfish. You're finally coming home to yourself. And that, dear listener, is beautiful. Chapter 7. Protecting your peace is a skill. Let's look at a story of 3 individuals. A young woman, Maya, sat across the dinner table from her extended family in Accra, smiling politely while her uncle made another passive-aggressive joke about her career choices. He laughed. Everyone laughed. Except her heart. Inside she was shrinking, again. Swallowing words. Tensing her jaw. Replaying comebacks in her mind that she would never speak aloud. That evening when she got home, she cried into her pillow. Not because of the joke, but because she didn't know how to protect herself from moments like that. In London, Ethan, a quiet middle-aged teacher, often left social gatherings emotionally drained. He wasn't sure why. He liked people, genuinely. But every time someone vented for an hour straight, dumped their emotions on him, or invaded his space with negativity, he felt like his peace was being stolen. He told himself he was too sensitive. He didn't realize he simply lacked boundaries, not empathy. And in Sao Paulo, Lucia, a nurse and mother of 3, had given everything to everyone. Her kids, her patients, her aging parents. One day her friend gently asked, "When was the last time you had time for yourself?" She didn't have an answer. And that scared her. We often talk about protecting our peace as though it's a luxury. A soft, spiritual phrase that sounds beautiful in theory but impractical in life. But here's the truth. Protecting your peace is not a personality trait. It's not something you're either born with or without. It is a skill. One you can build. One you must build. Like any skill, it requires awareness, practice, and intentionality. Why does peace feel so elusive for many of us? Because we haven't been taught that we are allowed to create it. We've been conditioned to adapt to chaos. To be strong by tolerating dysfunction. To stay silent to avoid making others uncomfortable. To absorb what isn't ours, stress, drama, guilt, just to keep the waters calm. But peace is not passive. It's not sitting quietly while your soul burns. Peace is not the absence of noise. It is the presence of protection. Let's redefine it. Peace is the freedom to exist without being emotionally pulled in every direction. It's choosing your environment, your conversations, your commitments, and your inner narrative, carefully, consciously. And doing that takes skill. Here are 3 key areas to strengthen your peace-protecting muscle. 1. The skill of awareness. Before you can protect your peace, you must first recognize what threatens it. Notice the energy in your body after certain conversations. Pay attention to the people who drain you versus those who nourish you. Get curious when you feel on edge. Ask, what just shifted inside me? Peace begins with awareness. When you are disconnected from yourself, you can't defend yourself. 2. The skill of boundary communication. It's not enough to feel that something is wrong. You must learn to name it. That means saying things like, "I can't take this on right now. That conversation makes me uncomfortable. I'm unavailable at that time. Please don't speak to me that way." Not with anger. Not with drama. But with clarity. It's not rude to express your needs. It's rude for others to ignore them. 3. The skill of non-reactivity. Protecting your peace also means not reacting to everything. Not every comment deserves your energy. Not every conflict needs your involvement. Sometimes, peace is choosing to let go, not out of weakness but out of wisdom. You do not have to attend every argument you're invited to. You do not have to defend your worth to those committed to misunderstanding you. Peace is power, but that power must be practiced. Healing moment. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it, and slowly release through your mouth. Let your body settle. Let your shoulders drop. Now ask yourself gently, where in my life have I been allowing my peace to be interrupted? Where am I absorbing emotions that don't belong to me? Where can I start choosing myself, not just occasionally but daily? Repeat these affirmations with a soft certainty. My peace is my responsibility and I protect it without apology. I am learning the skill of honoring my space, my energy, and my truth. Each day I grow stronger in choosing calm over chaos. You are not being selfish when you protect your peace. You are being sovereign. You are taking ownership of your emotional landscape. And that, in a noisy, demanding world, is a radical act of love. You've just completed a powerful journey, one that many fear to begin but deeply long for. A journey of reclaiming your voice, of learning that your worth is not tied to how much you give, of choosing self-respect over approval. Throughout these chapters, you've unlearned the lie that boundaries are selfish. You've discovered that peace isn't something you earn, it's something you protect. You've faced the guilt, the resentment, the fear of being misunderstood. And instead of turning away, you stood tall in your truth. Whether you listened in your car, in your kitchen, on a quiet walk, or alone at night, thank you for allowing these words to hold space for you. Let this be more than an audiobook. Let it be a mirror, a reminder, a refuge. Whenever life pulls you back into old patterns of people-pleasing, emotional overextension, or fear of rejection, return here. Listen again. Heal again. And remember, you are allowed to say no. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to be seen, not for what you do but for who you are. Your boundaries are not barriers. They are bridges to deeper, healthier, and more honest connections, especially with yourself. If this audiobook offers you clarity, comfort, or courage, I invite you to subscribe to this channel and share it with someone who needs it too. Your healing is never selfish. It's a ripple effect. When one person sets themselves free, others begin to believe they can too. From Amat Iankas, may your yes be sacred. May your no be respected. And may your peace be non-negotiable. Thank you for listening. Now go and protect your heart like it's holy. Because it is.